So welcome everybody who's watching. Thank you Fashinnovation for having me. Again, my name is Pandora Amoratis. I'm the style director at the Daily Mail. I'm super excited to be moderating this chat on fashion and entertainment. And I really can't think of anybody better to have this conversation with than you, Larry. I mean, you co-founded E! Entertainment Television. You head up the media company Metan. It's pretty amazing. Can you kind of just tell us a little bit about what you do now and how you got your start?
Sure. Well, how I got my start probably comes first. I grew up in Brooklyn before it was trendy Brooklyn, and pretty, I guess now I realize, lower middle class family, or lower or upper lower class or something. My father was a truck driver for Pepsi Cola. My mom worked for the Department of Social Services. We were immigrants. There was nobody in the family that ever went to college and stuff. So I ended up graduating college. I got a job in the what was then a new business called cable TV, back with a company called Sterling Manhattan, when there were 12 channels. And but the job they gave me a job as an assistant underground splicer. So my job was every day to go under the streets of Manhattan and put the wires together, with the roaches and the rats and all that stuff. And they paid me $90 a week to do it. And but it was a great place to be because I grew up as the cable business grew up and stuff. And I got lucky to be working on, with the group that started the Home Box Office and Cinemax and built the first big urban cable systems and all of that. And then I ended up getting recruited by a company out here in LA that had won the franchise to build the cable system in LA, but LA wanted everything to go underground. Well, the only underground system ever built was Manhattan, and by that time I was the head of all operations in Manhattan. So I got recruited and I came out here and I fell in love with the entertainment business, and I couldn't understand why all my neighbors were going to these premieres and red carpets and I wasn't. And I just said, I'm going to figure out how to, how I get on those lists. And so when the company sold, I decided I'm not going to Canada because that's where the company was from. I didn't go from New York to LA to go to Canada.
Yeah.
And my friend Alan Marufka and I just kicked around ideas, and we just said cable TV is like an electronic newspaper, and CNN was the headline and the ESPN was the sports. Well, what was missing was the entertainment pages. So we said, we're going to start the entertainment pages of the cable TV electronic newspaper. We were naive. We thought people would give us the money because it was a good idea, but it took us 3.5 years to get the first dollar, and nowhere near what you needed to start a TV network. But, we said, while it cost 60 to 100 million to start, and we only had someone willing to give us 2.5, we just said, you know what, we'll figure a way to do it. We just launched it. And as soon as it went on, it just took off, and everybody said, oh, why didn't you tell us that's what you wanted to do? We would have given you the money years ago. So, that's an E! Now is 140 countries. And, everybody talks now that the big thing are influencers, and there's no bigger influencer in pop culture in the world than E! Is.
Yeah.
At this point. And, but I got bored. I mean, how long do you go before you run out of Kardashians? And so I decided I wanted to do a lot of stuff out of the country. I wanted to really throw myself into other cultures and places and stuff. So now I have a company called Metan. And Metan, the focus of Metan is the word China. So we either do stuff in China for Western audiences, or we'll do stuff around the world for Chinese audiences. And the thing I think we did different than most is we realized that China, the people in China were very proud to be Chinese, and you couldn't just take what you do in Australia and subtitle it in Mandarin and say, here you go, thank me for this. You had to really make stuff in Mandarin language for the Chinese people. And so we've been there like 10 years now. We've had 5 series on TV, and it's keeping us busy.
Yeah, was that something that was really hard to navigate? Or do you know the language?
I, I have learned enough,
Yeah.
but you've never heard Mandarin spoken until you've heard it with a Brooklyn accent. It sounds like it's right out of The Sopranos or something. It's pretty crazy. But it was a little different for us to navigate than most Western companies. Most Western companies have failed because they really failed to realize that China is its own place. It's different. You can't just take what you do and squeeze it in. If you're not willing to focus on China, you're wasting your time. And I think the Chinese recognize that, in me from the beginning. So they've given us a lot of latitude. And like I say, we've had 5 series on the air in 10 years, which, even in the US, that's a pretty daunting task. So we've been doing pretty well there.
Yeah. So the topic of our discussion today is fashion and entertainment. And I think that E had one of the best of all time with Fashion Police. I mean, I still miss Joan Rivers, I really do. And what would you say, how did that change the landscape of like fashion television coverage?
Well, when we came up with it, and I got to say, I had a great team. And, because we really didn't have a lot of resources and money, we would really innovate. We did a lot of really innovative stuff. The first time we ever covered the Academy Awards, we couldn't get press passes. So we climbed over the fence and snuck in.
Oh my God.
And, but that's, the audience loved it because it really brought this sense of authenticity.
Yeah, it was really raw. They said whatever they wanted.
We did a lot of stuff that we took a lot of chances, again, because we had to. We didn't have the money to, do big fancy production and stuff. So, we did Talk Soup. And when we first came up with that, people said, Larry, you're out of your mind. You want to do a TV show that makes fun of TV shows? I'm going, exactly. That's exactly what I want to do. And then, the next one, that people thought was odd, I said, I found this great radio guy in New York. I said, I want to do a TV show about his radio show. And they're going, Larry, radio's kind of out of it. We're moving into the digital era. And I'm going, you just don't get it. It is like KRP in Cincinnati, but in real life, the guy's name is Howard Stern. So we did that. We put cameras in Howard's thing. But, there was such a connection between fashion and, pop culture. It's one and the same.
Absolutely.
And, everybody said Joan's kind of over. But I love Joan and I love Melissa.
Yeah.
And, we just said, if we take this seriously, the thing that he did very different, we really didn't take it very seriously.
Right.
Like I said, we made fun of television, even though we were television. Yeah. And we wanted somebody who could kind of carry that same feeling through. And, and there was nobody better than Joan. And Joan made the show. It evolved to be Joan's show.
Yeah. I feel like she just was so candid all of the time, no filter.
And that was kind of the environment that the network had. It was just like when you watched it, you kind of knew it wasn't being done with fancy things and big budgets and stuff. It was really based on its authenticity. And Joan just carried that to a new level.
Yeah. And then, when it comes to the award shows, I never watch an award show without first watching E's live from the red carpet. And I think I'm not alone with that. What would you say, why is it so successful?
Well, because it's much more interesting than the award show. When you think of these award shows, other than my favorite award show used to be the BET Awards, because it was wall-to-wall music. And I said, okay, everybody's performing. Here, you're having a TV show that's talking about visual content without showing the visual content. I'm going, how boring is that? It's so much more interesting to hear people talk before, to see what they're wearing, to ask them kind of off the wall questions, because most of the time you can catch people pretty off guard.
Right.
And we did that. We were known for being irreverent and asking weird questions and stuff like that. And the celebrities got a kick out of it, so interesting. We were the first TV network that was located out of Hollywood, which is crazy. When you think about it, the entertainment capital of the world had no TV network that was centered in Hollywood. So we kind of became, we became that. And then, for a lot of celebrities, we had a lot of time. I mean, we had 24 hours a day, and you couldn't fill it all with good stuff. So when we worked with a lot of celebrities, and I would talk to a studio and I'd say, look, when you have the new Schwarzenegger film, you don't really need me to help you. I said, well, what are you going to do when you have Jaws 5? And they went, okay, we get what you're talking about. So we really began to do deep dive into music and celebrities and fashion and all of that kind of stuff. And people loved it because it was getting more than the 10 seconds you get on Entertainment Tonight.
Sure. Yeah. We kind of cannot talk about E! And not talk about the Kardashians. And they've just been so successfand in fashion, in beauty. What would you say that brands can learn from them?
Well, first, and this is my opinion. I mean, I met the girls when they were literally babies.
Yeah.
I was friends with then Bruce and Chris and stuff like that. And we actually, one time, we were all going to try and do a fitness TV network together and stuff. And then, but unfortunately, our other partner was OJ, and we all know what happened there. But, I think Chris has really been, the brand maker there. I mean, she's a brilliant thinker and stuff like that. And I think she kind of set the tone. I think the girls have done an amazing job of taking it to the next level. But, Chris really had the strategy and the blueprint. And, I think without Chris's really, involvement, it wouldn't have gotten as far as it's gotten.
Right. But do you think it's a combination of the television show, the social media, all of those things that
as the founder of E! I think it's certainly all because of the television show. No, but I think the show did it. I think a lot of the things never would have happened unless they had that platform there, and they became real people. And again, it followed what we started. They were very real,
right?
And the show was raw. You didn't think that they came in there with expensive cameras and stuff like that. It was real life, and it resonated with the audience.
Yeah, I think that's true for so many shows where, like, you've watched it so many times that you think that the person is your friend, you know so much about them. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking Sex and the City when I say that, which obviously was one of the biggest fashion shows. Are there any other that you can think of? And more importantly, do you think that there was a traceable, return on investments for the brands that they were wearing on these shows?
Sure. I mean, I think Sex and the City is the perfect example. I mean, there have been, you could talk about the sunglasses that Tom Cruise,
the Manolos,
and all that. But Sex and the City really was the first one that focused, all that attention on fashion and did amazing. And it was particularly in Asia. It was bigger in Asia than it was here.
Oh, really?
In terms of its influence on fashion, there's even a bar in Beijing called Sex and the City bar, and people would flock to it. You could barely get in. And
did they only serve cosmopolitans?
Yeah, pretty much. And but I think the big one, not just in the U.S. but in China, the number one driver of fashion choices in China among women under 35 was Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
And Gossip Girl just, everybody knew every character. The stores would have signs in them that say, as seen on Gossip Girl and stuff. And, it kind of led us, we did a drama series. I think I ran 35-part drama series and stuff. And very much about, modern, hip, affluent life in, Shanghai and stuff like that. And in the show, we actually had one girl wears great shoes. They go, oh, those are great shoes. Where'd you get them? I got them on sparkle.com. 2 episodes later, where'd you get those shoes? I told you, I got them on sparkle.com. Well, we actually owned sparkle.com. On the production budget, we had a shoe designer. And we would design a shoe of the month. And people would sign up for the shoe of the month club and stuff. And, when our series ran, we actually made more money on selling shoes than we made on selling the TV show. Yeah.
So do you think, well, first of all, do you think that is the future of television and fashion, being able to buy something that you see immediately? And is the key to doing that owning the actual shoe company or owning the brands that the person is wearing?
I think it's a combination of things. I don't think there's any one route to it, but and I've been approached by a lot of people to get involved in, helping that brand use media and technology and stuff. And it's a much more complicated issue
Yeah.
than people think, because if you look at the way a TV show makes money, I mean, typically the first time a TV show is made and run, you typically lose money. You deficit finance it. So if you're lucky enough and you get to 100 episodes in the US, you then can syndicate that show, and then you make $1 zillion, because you've already paid for it. Now it's all, I mean, look at Seinfeld, went to over $1 billion valuation, not in its first run, but in its reruns. And that's the way, the money flows in TV. So if you think about how that goes fashion, everybody always says to me, oh, we'll sell the sweater that Jennifer Aniston wore in Friends. And I'm going, but the show was 20 years ago. And the color of the sweaters that you were wearing are very different than the colors that are hip and cool today. And plus, just the styles are different.
Right.
So, so selling the item is very difficult. You got to get to whoever's dressing the stars. You got to plan your supply chain so that is going to be in the stores or online, available online when the show goes on.
Yeah.
But then you got to deal with things like if you send me to buy, a sweater that I see a guy, I go, oh, I love that sweater. And I go there and it's out of stock. Yeah. So now you've taken what should have been a good experience. I'm going, oh man, what a stupid company that is.
Right.
So you really have to think through, the whole thing. And then, again, take friends and say, do you sell Jennifer Aniston's sweater or do you sell the style of Jennifer Aniston? Because then you could adapt to, you could use the quick fashion kind of stuff and get stuff out there relatively quickly and not get people angry and be in the right colors. And so it's really complicated.
Okay. So, but do you think so when you're on Instagram, you can kind of click a link and go straight to what it is that they're wearing. But so do you think that there'll be any sort of, I don't know, way to do that or no?
Yeah, the technology actually exists for it now.
It does.
No, yeah, the technology is out there. It's interactive TV technology. And, once digital came and you had the Instagrams and the TikToks and everything, it's actually incredibly easy.
Oh.
But, technically it's easy.
Okay.
But then again, you get into the same issues of supply chain. I mean, what happens when I click on it?
Right.
Where does it go? How does it get fulfilled? What if it's not available? All of that stuff. And as people become, more and more famous or bigger influencers, you really got to start thinking of, okay, I can't just take an old clip from Friends and stick it on Instagram and sell Jennifer Aniston sweater. I mean, what happens to Jennifer Aniston? And then the person who wrote the episode, and then the guilds and the unions. And so as soon as there's money, right now nobody's really paying attention because there's not a heck of a lot of money there.
Yeah.
But as soon as there's money, it's going to be, the same thing. There's a food chain and everybody wants to eat. So you kind of got to figure out that food chain and deal with it up front, because it'll be cheaper to deal with it up front than to get hit with the lawsuits for infringing. And
right. Do you think it would be any easier on an original series on a streaming show like Netflix or Hulu?
Yes, as a matter of fact, I'm working on one. I love one of the things, I love old television and stuff, and I love the old the nighttime soap operas.
Yeah, heck yeah.
The Dallas and the Dynasty. So Dallas was about oil, and Falcon Crest was the wine. So I've always wanted to do one about a New York fashion family, dynasty.
Oh my God, please do that. Please
so
do.
We actually created, so a guy named Michael Benaroya, who owns Benaroya Films, myself, and Allison Felties. Allison was one of the writers on Ozark. And I just love
Ozark. That's actually what I'm binging right now.
Are you on season 3?
Yes.
You haven't seen television this good in 20 years. It's amazing.
It's really,
so
really
I
good.
loved Ozark, and we found Allison, and we got Allison to kind of write the series for us. And it's a New York fashion family, and Papa's going to die, and the three kids are fighting for who's going to take over the empire. But it's really fashion forward. It's got all kinds of great fashion industry
Oh
stuff,
my gosh, I'm so excited for this.
great characters, and of course, a lot of stuff you're going to be able to buy.
Yeah. Wait, when is this going to air?
Hopefully we're going to, the pandemic slowed us down.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're going to start shooting it this winter, and it'll start airing next spring. And it'll be Amazon or Netflix or one of those.
Would it film in New York?
And yeah, obviously we need to capture New York, and there are so many people in the fashion industry in New York that want to be in this, that they want to do cameos and stuff like that. So yeah, we'll shoot a lot in New York. We might shoot interiors up in Vancouver, just because we could get the tax credits, and it's easier to shoot indoor in the winter than it is shooting outdoor in New York. But it's going to be a fun series. It's got a little bit of that Ozark feel, that dark, stuff, and it's good. And Allison's a great writer, and we have high hopes for that. It's called Lookbook.
Oh, love it. That's so cool. Do you think that is there anything else technology-wise that we could expect, do you think?
Well, some of the stuff, I mean, like I said, I've been getting contacted by a lot of people in the fashion business saying, okay, now that our designers can't meet with the buyers face to face, how do we kind of recreate that, dynamic and stuff like that? So, I think artificial intelligence, I think, virtual reality, you'll see a lot of that in the fashion thing. And the thing that I love, it's still not quite as far along, but I've really been looking at holography.
Oh yeah.
I love holograms and stuff. And I think it works in fashion.
Yeah.
Because I can I can put the models in your living room if I want to.
Yeah.
And but I think it really does wonders in the world of education. I'm actually on the board of advisory board of a group called the Einstein Foundation, which is what Albert bestowed all his intellectual property on. And I'm thinking I want to do holographic Albert doing, physics lectures, because I can beam them into universities everywhere in the world. So we can really level the playing field of education, because we could take the best teachers in any subject and recreate them technologically. And, kid in Africa could be taught physics by Albert Einstein, just like an American kid and stuff. So I think the implications of it are incredible. So that's kind of the one that I think, I mean, not just in the entertainment world, but just in education and socialization.
Do you think that the coronavirus has kind of helped in that a lot of us are home using Zoom, using all these things that we've never done before, and becoming more comfortable with it?
Yeah, it's funny because I've been doing this stuff for a long time. Way back, I was the primary consultant to Bill Gates's Microsoft on TV technology strategy in the entertainment world and stuff. So I got to work with all these really deep science guys, these unbelievably nerdy kids that, so I got to understand technology a lot more. And so I was kind of advanced on the technology side. And it just amazed me how far behind and how afraid of technology everybody was. I mean, if you think of the music business, they spent 10 years fighting digital music until they realized there ain't anything they're going to do to stop it. And they had to change the model. TV industry, the same thing. I mean, the HBOs of the world, if they weren't trying to fight what was coming, you never would have a Netflix.
Right.
So their time was spent fighting it as opposed to just embracing it and stuff. But now everybody's on Zoom, and I think you'll see kind of much more advanced versions of it. I look at Microsoft's Team now, and it kind of takes Zoom to another level and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, it's made people comfortable. I think, the one that I'm very curious seeing is the movie going experience. Because I don't believe it ever comes back. I think of it, it could be like today, if I had nothing to do in the afternoon, I go, oh, I think I'll go to the movies. And I'd look to see if there's something. Well, I ain't going to the movies just for something anymore. I
Right.
mean, I'll go see Star Wars, or I'll go see Masters of the Universe, something that's, I want to see on the big screen with the great
Yeah.
sound thing, but I'm not just going to a movie
Right. Right.
anymore. I don't see people doing that. So it's really boosted the, the Netflix and the Amazons and
Yeah.
Disneys and, those
And
folks.
television in general. I mean,
Yeah.
you're in the right business.
And, it's gotten the studios, who resisted releasing stuff, to digital networks,
Yeah.
to realize that they can make just as much money, if not more, by adapting to it.
Right. Right.